Every morning I was in the staff meetings as to what the plan for the day was and which players would be in which group and what the content needed to be with the players. There were times where I took sessions with Carlo, and particularly the second half of the season when Ray Wilkins had left, had a bit more interaction then. So, a great experience working with a top-level coach who had very clear ideas on how he wanted his team to play. And of course, a very exciting time at the club anyway, because Carlo managed to achieve the double in his first season. So being around that and being in the dressing room at half-time, which is a privilege that I was allowed, and seeing how the players behaved, the coaching staff behaved, the communication at half-time, and then of course seeing the team play was a great experience and fantastic for my development. I was actually on holiday with my wife in Spain and got the call after day 2 and returned home on day 3, which she still reminds me of regularly. I was asked to come back. I came back. I met André and Roberto Di Matteo, and André went through what he was looking for and his ideas, and which were quite different really to the direction the team had been in before. André had just won the treble, I think, with Porto, unbeaten all season. So an incredible impact in his first year as a coach. But of course, Chelsea is quite a unique club. There were a lot of senior players around at the time, and it was a really challenging season with André trying to take the team in a different direction. We had results at the start. Then we hit a spell where we didn't get results, and that became difficult, and there was kind of a breaking point really as to whether the team needed to change direction in terms of the direction they were being given, or if it was continued, then it was likely that the targets that it was trying to reach would not be achieved. And at that moment, obviously, the club made a change. At a big club, every day is a drama, and there are examples of that now with some big clubs. Frankly, it's never quite as bad as it's made out to be, is the first thing. But fundamentally, this was a group of players who'd been used to a certain direction on the pitch, a certain way of playing that in the past they had some success with. And that really is the breaking point. If the team is getting success with something that's different, then they buy into the ideas and things can run smoothly. If you don't get the results, then of course that doubt starts to creep in. So really, it was a case of trying to reassure that it was the right pathway. It was certainly something that originally André had been brought in to introduce, a different way of playing. And then obviously communicating as an assistant, you're always communicating with the boss and trying to act as a buffer with the players and filtering back, feedback, and so that the whole thing, trying to give the whole thing the best chance of working. So I guess from a selfish point of view, going through that was a good experience, because football isn't all beautiful. There are these moments, and frankly, your ability to handle these moments in the end are decisive. It was atmospherically the best night of my 8 years at Chelsea. I think there was a real connection between the supporters and the players. The players were incredible really at that period, because for many of them they'd been trying to win this holy grail for many years, and time was running out, frankly. That night we played a Napoli team that had arguably the most dangerous 3 forwards in European football at that time. A real counter-attacking team with Hamsik, Lavezzi, Cavani as 3 forwards playing in a 3-4-3 system. So you're chasing the game, so you know you're going to leave spaces, because we had to commit players forwards to try to rescue the scoreline. We needed to score 3. But you knew that there was going to be a risk with that. We got ourselves into a really good position in the game, if I remember rightly, 2-0. And then 2-0 became 2-1, which doesn't look anywhere near as good. But then the third goal takes the game into extra time. And it was a night really where the big players, stood up in terms of not just the goal scorers in that game, but also the performances. I think if I'm right, it was Ivanovic who got the decisive goal in extra time, which sent the club through to the quarterfinals. I think it's safe to say at that point you started to get the feeling for the first time really that maybe eventually after all the bad luck that the club had had, when you think of the penalties that weren't given against Barcelona and losing in injury time, the last kick of the game with Iniesta, all those moments, penalties against Liverpool, and finally maybe it was Chelsea's turn to get the rub of the green. It was an incredible period because the games were coming thick and fast, and obviously getting to a cup final, you get the extra FA Cup games that you have to play as well. So I remember after the cup semi-final against Tottenham, where we had a magnificent result, we're in the final, but there was no time to celebrate. On the coach on the way back to Stamford Bridge, we had our laptops out and we were studying Barcelona because in the following morning we had to deliver the game plan for Barcelona. We played them in 2 days. As soon as you navigated the Barcelona game, there was another. So it was a relentless period. Even the final, we couldn't really enjoy. We beat Liverpool in the FA Cup final, but it was actually at a time where it wasn't the last game of the season. And we had Liverpool at Anfield, bizarrely, we played 3 days later than the cup final. So, we just had one of the biggest nights of your life. And the next morning we weren't celebrating. We were out on the training pitch preparing the team for the next game. We looked at the 4 games as a block of games, and it was impossible that one group of players could play every minute of those 4 matches. Something somewhere had to give. We made 9 changes at Arsenal and still managed to get a draw. And then it meant the team was fresh in the Nou Camp for the second leg. And of course, we lost a player in the first half in that game, ended up playing an hour with 10. So in the end, those things when you reflect, those things are decisive. So an incredible experience to go through with an incredible group of players that night epitomized it really. They refused to accept defeat. The first leg was tactical and very cagey, and we felt Alves would really attack from right back. So we played Ramirez on the left, which was different, and Lampard recovered a ball in midfield, played Ramirez in, who was behind Alves. He crossed for Drogba to score 1-0. The second leg was not tactical. I remember Roberto had said to me, have a look at the opponents always for the first couple of minutes of a game and let me know what you see. If there's something different to what we've prepared, he would be focusing on us. And after 2 or 3 minutes, they'd changed. They were playing differently. They were playing 3 and a diamond and then a front 3, which we'd half expected, but was different. I remember him asking me after 2 minutes, what are they doing? What are they playing? And they had total control of the game and were already wave after wave of attacks. And I remember thinking to myself, Jesus, I think they've got 13, Robbie. Never mind, what system are they playing? We're 2 down. We have a man sent off. There's 100,000 in the stadium. We've got Ramirez, who was a midfield player, playing right back. We've got Bosingwa, who was a right back, playing centre back. We've already made 3 changes now in the back 4. So you're sitting on the touchline looking at the clock thinking, this is going to be painful. And then just before half-time, we got a counter-attack and Ramirez produced a sublime bit of ability to chip the goalkeeper for 2-1. And that was huge because it actually meant that what we had we could keep. It was now about trying to defend, because I think to try to defend but also try to score, we would have in the end come unstuck. The space that we would have left. And in the first half, we'd played 4-4-1 with Drogba alone. But we were getting outnumbered in midfield. The midfield players were outnumbering our 2 central midfield players, and we couldn't get any sort of stability. So at half-time, we played Drogba on the left, and we played with 3 midfield players, Mireles and Lampard and Mikel. And we tried to control that zone. And I have to say that worked and gave us a chance. it gave us a chance of keeping the ball out of the net. What it also did was it meant that we could never get out of a half because there was no reference as a forward. So we were set for 45 minutes. We were camped in a penalty area. And arguably the greatest rearguard action ever by any team in any game, in my opinion. I know I'm biased, but it was the ultimate challenge, really. And a little bit of luck, a penalty miss, and then that incredible moment, 2 minutes into injury time where, for the first time in the whole game, my neck turned to the opposite end of the pitch. And suddenly this yellow and white flash, and Fernando Torres was alone with nobody within 30, 40 metres of him. And only really when the ball went into the net did we feel at any time in the two matches that we really had a chance of getting through to the final. So an incredible moment that will stay with me forever. The Saturday before our last game of the season, Bayern Munich played Borussia Dortmund in Berlin in the German Cup final. Me and Robbie went, Mr. Abramovich provided a jet. We went straight from training, door to door, watched the game. Dortmund won 5-2. They played 4-4-1-1 with Lewandowski and Kagawa and soldiers on the wings to control Ribéry and Robben. And we took this from the game and thought this was our way. Our Lewandowski and Kagawa was going to be Mata and Drogba. And we had 4 players suspended for the final. Mireles, Ramirez, Terry and Ivanovic, so 4 big players. So we had to try and find a way with the other 4 midfield players of creating what Dortmund had really, which was really compact, strong defensive 2 banks of 4. So in training we tried Ryan Bertrand, who was a left back, on the left wing. And long story short, that looked good in training. He and Ashley were one in, one out, and we felt that was the best way of controlling Lahm's forward runs and Robben's positions inside. So amazing, really. You play your Champions League, make your Champions League debut in the final out of position. But he came through, and obviously we managed to get Didier's late equaliser that took the game to penalties, and Peter Cech, bless him, with a couple of great saves, and then Didier, the man to strike the kick, which was very apt, I think, to win the Champions League. So, an amazing experience and an amazing achievement by an incredible group of players. Frankly, it was a privilege to be involved with them.